Story 1. I found out my husband is cheating on me, but the person he's cheating with isn't who I expected. I never thought I'd be that person, the one who goes through their partner's phone, but here I am, and I wish I could unknow what I found. My husband James and I have been married for 6 years, good years, or so I thought. We have our routines, our inside jokes, our Sunday morning pancakes. Everything seemed fine. Maybe that was the problem, just fine. We met in college at a terrible frat party where the beer was warm and the music was too loud. He was the guy in the corner reading a book completely out of place, and I thought that was the most attractive thing I'd ever seen. We talked for 4 hours that night about everything and nothing. He walked me home in the rain, and I just knew he was going to be important. Our wedding was small, intimate, perfect. His vows made me cry. He promised to choose me every day, to never let the spark die, to build a life that would make us both proud. I believed every word. For the first few years, we were solid. We traveled when we could afford it. We hosted game nights with friends. We talked about buying a house and having kids someday. Not yet, but someday. We were building towards something. But somewhere around year 4, things shifted. Nothing dramatic, nothing I could point to and say that's when it changed. Just a slow fade. Conversations became shorter, kisses became routine, sex became scheduled, mechanical, something we did because married couples are supposed to. I told myself it was normal. Marriage isn't supposed to be fireworks forever, right? Everyone says the passion fades, that comfort and partnership are what matter. So I accepted it. I accepted the growing distance between us. 3 weeks ago, his phone kept buzzing during dinner. We were having pasta. I'd made his favorite, trying to inject some life back into our weeknight routine. But he kept glancing at his phone, and every time it lit up, his jaw tensed. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Work?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Yeah," he said, too quickly. "Just a project that's hitting some snags." He'd been having a lot of late nights at the office lately, coming home at 9, 10, sometimes 11 p.m. He works in IT consulting, so late nights weren't unusual, but the frequency had increased. And when he came home, he'd shower immediately, every single time. At first, I thought he was just washing off the workday stress, but looking back now, I see it differently. After dinner that night, after he'd scrolled through his phone with furrowed brows and excused himself to check on something for work, I sat on our couch and felt it. That gnawing feeling in your gut that something is wrong. Women's intuition, my mother would call it. I call it pattern recognition. I tried to shake it off. I put on our favorite show, made tea, told myself I was being paranoid. But after he fell asleep that night, I couldn't stop thinking about those text messages, about how he'd angled his phone away from me, about how he'd been distant for months. So I did it. I picked up his phone from the nightstand, and my hands were shaking as I typed in his passcode, our anniversary, 0614. The fact that he'd never changed it somehow made what I was about to find even worse. The messages were from someone named Alex. At first, my brain tried to make it innocent, just a coworker, work stuff. But then I scrolled up and my stomach dropped. "I can't stop thinking about last night," one message read, sent 2 days ago. "When can I see you again? I miss the way you..." I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. I scrolled further, my heart pounding so loud I was sure it would wake him. 6 months. They'd been seeing each other for 6 months. The messages were detailed, intimate, full of inside jokes and pet names I didn't recognize. Tuesday night was incredible. I booked the usual room for Friday. "Wish you didn't have to leave so early this morning." Every late work night was accounted for in these messages. Every business trip, every weekend he claimed he needed to go into the office. It was all there, laid out in blue and gray text bubbles, destroying my marriage one message at a time. I kept reading, scrolling back through months of evidence. There were pictures too, nothing explicit, thankfully, but intimate. Dinner date, coffee shops I didn't recognize, Alex's hand holding a drink, a restaurant table set for 2, and then one photo that made my blood run cold.
James's hand with his wedding ring clearly visible, holding someone else's hand across the table. But here's the twist that broke me completely. Alex isn't a woman. I'd been picturing a female coworker this entire time, some young, beautiful woman from his office who laughed at his jokes and made him feel alive again. That would have been devastating enough, but the photos showed me the truth. Alex is a man, younger than James, maybe late 20s, dark hair and kind eyes. My husband is having an affair with a man. I sat there in our dark bedroom, James sleeping peacefully beside me, and my entire understanding of my marriage, of my husband, of my life shattered. This wasn't just infidelity. This was something deeper, something that made me question everything. Does he even love me? Has he ever been attracted to me? Or am I just his cover, his beard, the acceptable wife that makes his life look normal while he lives his real life in secret with Alex? I thought about our wedding night, our honeymoon, every time we'd been intimate in 6 years of marriage. Was he thinking about someone else? Was he pretending? The thought made me physically ill. I've been sitting with this for 3 weeks now. 3 weeks of going through the motions, making coffee, packing his lunch, asking about his day, kissing him goodbye. But inside, I'm screaming. Every smile I give him feels like my face is cracking. Every I love you feels like swallowing glass. The worst part is I can't tell anyone. Not my sister, who introduced us and still gushes about what a perfect couple we are. Not my best friend, Melissa, who's been dealing with her own divorce and doesn't need my drama. Not my mother, who's so traditional, she'd probably blame me somehow for not being enough woman to keep my husband. Because how do I explain this? Hey, my husband is cheating on me with a man, and I don't know if our entire marriage has been a lie or if he's only recently discovered this about himself and I found out by invading his privacy, and I don't know what to do. I've become an expert at compartmentalizing. At work, I'm fine, productive even. I throw myself into projects, stay late, anything to avoid going home. My boss commented that I seem more focused lately. If only she knew it's because focusing on budget reports is easier than focusing on my collapsing marriage. At home, I play the role of the wife. I cook, I clean, I make conversation. Last week, I even initiated sex just to test if I could tell the difference now that I know. He was present, I guess, but not really. There. And afterwards, while he fell asleep, I lay awake and wondered if he was thinking about Alex. Last night, he reached for me in bed, and I let him. I held him close and felt him fall asleep in my arms. And I wondered, who is this person I married? And who have I been to him all these years? Because I've realized something devastating. I don't actually know my husband. The man I thought I married, the guy from the frat party, the one who read books in corners and walked me home in the rain, maybe that person never existed. Maybe I fell in love with a performance. Tonight, I'm going to ask him to sit down with me. I've rehearsed it 100 times. James, we need to talk. I know about Alex. I know everything. And then, I don't know. Does he deny it? Does he break down? Does he finally tell me the truth about who he really is? Part of me hopes he'll fight for us, that he'll explain it was a mistake, a moment of confusion, something we can work through. But a bigger part of me knows that's not what this is. This is who he is. And if that's true, then the kindest thing I can do for both of us is to let him go, to let him be with Alex, to let him live authentically like Alex posts about, to stop forcing him to be someone he's not. I deserve someone who chooses me completely, who doesn't have to pretend, who isn't lying every time he touches me. And James deserves to be himself, even if that self isn't the person I married. I'm terrified of this conversation, of blowing up our lives, of telling our families, of starting over at 32. But I'm more terrified of spending the rest of my life in this limbo, married to someone who's already gone. So tonight, when he gets home from work, probably from seeing Alex, I'm going to ask him to sit down. I'm going to tell him I know. And whatever happens next, at least we'll both finally be living in the truth. I just hope I'm strong enough to handle whatever that truth turns out to be.
Story 2. The promotion that came with a price. Everyone thinks I earned my corner office through hard work. The truth is, I slept with my married boss to get it. Everyone at the office thinks I earned my promotion through hard work and talent. They congratulated me, took me out for drinks, told me I deserved it. If only they knew the truth. I'm the new senior marketing director at Sterling and Associates, a prestigious firm in Manhattan. Corner office on the 42nd floor, floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of Central Park, six-figure salary, executive parking, the works. At 32, I'm the youngest person to ever hold this position in the company's 60-year history. I should be proud. I should feel accomplished. Instead, I feel sick every time I walk past my boss's office. Let me back up. I've been working in marketing for 10 years, ever since I graduated from NYU with a degree in communications and a mountain of student debt. I started at the bottom, assistant to an assistant, getting coffee, taking notes in meetings, doing the grunt work nobody else wanted to do. But I was good, really good. I had instincts for what would resonate with audiences, what stories would sell, what campaigns would go viral. Within 2 years, I was leading my own projects. Within 4, I was managing a team. I brought in major clients, a luxury car brand, a tech startup that went public, a fashion house that had been struggling to connect with younger consumers. I worked 80-hour weeks. I missed birthdays, weddings, holidays. I turned down dates because I was too busy building my career. While my friends from college were getting married and having babies, I was in conference rooms and on client calls, building something I thought mattered. And I kept getting passed over for promotions. The first time, they promoted David. David, who came in late, who took credit from my ideas in meetings, who played golf with the executives on weekends. He had half my results and twice my salary. The second time, they brought in someone from outside, Marcus, who had an impressive resume, but no understanding of our clients or company culture. He lasted 8 months before he was quietly let go, but they never offered me the position, even though I'd been keeping everything running while he learned the ropes. I started to see the pattern. It didn't matter how good I was. It didn't matter how many clients I brought in or how many campaigns I created that won awards. I was a woman in a boys' club, and unless I figured out how to play by their rules, I'd be stuck forever. That's when Richard started paying attention to me. Richard Hartwell is 51, married with 3 kids, 2 in college, 1 in high school. He's executive vice president, essentially running the entire marketing division. He's the kind of man who wears expensive suits and Swiss watches, who has a golf handicap and a summer house in the Hamptons. Old money, old school, old boys network. He'd been mentoring me for about 2 years at that point. Late-night strategy sessions where we'd order Thai food and map out campaigns, weekend emails where he'd ask my opinion on pitches, coffee meetings where he'd give me advice about navigating corporate politics. "You're the smartest person in most rooms," he told me once, "but you need to learn how to make the right people see that." I thought he was just being a good mentor. Looking back, I see it differently now. It started innocently enough, or at least that's what I told myself. He'd compliment my presentations, then my outfit. He'd touch my shoulder when he talked to me, let his hand linger just a second too long. He'd suggest we grab drinks after work to decompress, just the 2 of us. I knew what was happening. I'm not naive. But I also knew that Richard had power. He decided who got promoted, who got the big clients, who was invited to the meetings that mattered. And I wanted in. 6 months ago, we were at a conference in Chicago, the annual Marketing Excellence Summit. 3 days of panels and networking and hotel bars. Richard and I had presented together on integrated digital strategies, and it went well, really well. Standing ovation, requests for the slides, people asking for our contact information. After the keynote that evening, we ended up at the hotel bar. We'd done this before,
post-conference drinks, talking about the industry, comparing notes. But that night felt different. The bar was dimly lit, playing jazz, and Richard ordered us both whiskey neat.
"You were incredible today," he said, and the way he looked at me made my skin tingle. "Watching you command that room, you're going places, Lauren. I want to make sure you get there."
One drink became 2, then 3, then 4. He told me his marriage was falling apart, that his wife didn't understand him anymore, that they'd become roommates who shared a mortgage and children but nothing else. That was different, Lauren. Ambitious, driven, someone who actually listened and understood what he was trying to build. I knew where this was heading. I'd known for months, probably. And here's the part that haunts me. I let it happen.
Not because I wanted him. God, I didn't want him. Richard is attractive enough for 51, I suppose, but he's not my type. He talks too much about himself, he wears too much cologne, he has that entitled confidence that comes from never being told no. But I wanted that promotion so badly I could taste it. I'd been passed over twice before, watching less qualified men climb the ladder while I stayed stuck. And in that moment, in that dimly lit hotel bar, with whiskey warming my veins and Richard's hand on my knee, I made a calculated decision. I could keep working myself to death and hope that eventually merit would matter. Or I could play the game the way men had been playing it forever, using whatever advantages I had to get ahead. So when he suggested we continue the conversation in his room, I said yes. I won't give you details about that night. Some things I want to keep buried. But I will tell you this. Every moment felt like I was outside my body, watching myself go through the motions. I kept thinking, this is the price. This is what it costs. We slept together that night, and 3 more times after that, over the next 2 months, each time in hotels, never anywhere we might be seen, never anywhere that could complicate his marriage or our professional relationship. Each time, I felt like I was selling a piece of myself, but each time, I told myself it was worth it, that this was just how the game was played, that men had been using women to get ahead forever. Why couldn't I flip the script, use him the way women had been used for generations? Richard and I didn't talk about it at the office. We maintained perfect professionalism, but something had shifted. Suddenly, my ideas were getting more traction in meetings. Suddenly, I was being invited to executive strategy sessions. Suddenly, Richard was mentioning my name to the board, talking about leadership potential, about bringing fresh vision to the senior team. When the senior director position opened in April, Richard pushed for me hard. I watched him advocate in meetings I wasn't invited to. I heard about it from colleagues, saw the emails he CC'd me in where he highlighted my accomplishments and contributions. I got the job 2 weeks later. The announcement went out on a Monday morning. My phone exploded with congratulations. My team took me out for celebratory drinks. My mother cried happy tears when I called to tell her. My college roommate said she always knew I'd be running the company someday. And I smiled and accepted their praise and felt absolutely hollow inside. Because I know the truth. I didn't earn this through my decade of excellent work, not through the campaigns I created that brought in millions, not through the clients I landed or the teams I built or the awards sitting on my shelf. All of that mattered less than 4 nights in hotel rooms with a married man who had the power to change my career trajectory. Now, I sit in my corner office with its park views and expensive furniture, and I can't enjoy any of it. Every time someone congratulates me, I feel like a fraud. Every time a younger colleague asks me for advice, I want to tell them the truth, that the system is rigged, that sometimes you have to compromise yourself to break through, that I'm not the role model they think I am. But instead, I smile and tell them to work hard and stay focused. I give them the advice I wish someone had given me. Be strategic, build relationships, make yourself indispensable.
all the corporate platitudes that pretend merit alone is enough. My colleagues ask me now how I made it this far this fast, especially the women, young associates who see me as proof that the glass ceiling can be shattered. They ask me what my secret is, how I balanced being liked and being respected, how I navigated being a woman in a male-dominated industry. I want to scream at them. There is no secret. I slept with our VP. That's how I got here. All your hard work might not matter if you don't have the right connections or the right biology or the willingness to compromise your integrity. But I don't. I give them sanitized advice and send them on their way. And I hate myself a little more each time. Richard still sends me messages. Dinner this week? Miss our talks. Been thinking about Chicago.
I ignore most of them, but I can't ignore him completely. He has power over me now in a different way. He knows my secret, and one word from him could destroy everything I've built. If he wanted to, he could tell people we slept together. He could imply or state outright that I used sex to get promoted. And even though he'd probably face consequences too, he's got decades of reputation and a powerful position. He'd land on his feet. I'd be branded as the woman who slept her way to the top, and my career would be over. So I maintain the careful balance, professional but not cold, friendly but not encouraging. I attend meetings he runs, collaborate on projects, keep everything above board, but the dynamic has shifted irrevocably. I'm not his equal, not really. I'm his dirty secret, and we both know it. Sometimes I wonder, would I do it again if I could go back? And the answer terrifies me because I honestly don't know. I have this corner office. I have the salary that finally let me pay off my student loans. I have the title and the respect and the platform to actually make changes in how we do business. Would I trade all of that to have my integrity back? To not feel sick when I look in the mirror? I tell myself that I can use this position for good, that I can mentor younger women the right way, that I can advocate for structural changes, that I can make sure the next generation doesn't have to make the choices I made. But deep down, I know that's just me trying to justify what I did, trying to make it mean something beyond my own ambition. Last week, something changed. A new intern started, Mia, 25 years old, fresh out of grad school with bright eyes and big dreams. She's brilliant, eager, exactly like I was 10 years ago. I watched Richard look at her the same way he used to look at me, that mentoring smile, that slightly too friendly tone. He's already scheduling late-night strategy sessions with her, already offering to be her advocate. I see it happening in real time and I feel sick. I pulled Mia aside yesterday under the guise of offering guidance. I wanted to warn her. I wanted to say, be careful around Richard. Don't be alone with him. Don't trust him when he says he wants to help you. But what came out instead was, if you want to get ahead here, you need to be strategic about your relationships. Build alliances with people who have power. I became everything I hate. As soon as the words left my mouth, I saw myself clearly. I'm not just a victim of this system. I'm perpetuating it. I'm standing by while Richard grooms another young woman, and I'm doing nothing to stop it because speaking up would mean exposing my own secrets. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Mia, about all the women who've been where I am, about all the women who will be, and I realized my silence makes me complicit. Then, yesterday afternoon, Richard's wife showed up at the office. I'd never met her before. He kept that part of his life completely separate from work, for obvious reasons. She's beautiful, elegant, probably 50 but looks 40. Perfect hair, designer clothes, the kind of polished sophistication that comes from country clubs and charity galas. She brought him lunch, some fancy spread from a restaurant I couldn't afford even with my new salary. I watched through my glass office wall as she unpacked it on his desk, and he smiled at her with what looked like genuine affection. He kissed her cheek, squeezed her hand, laughed at something she said.
She caught me staring and waved, friendly and unsuspecting. Just a wife bringing lunch to her husband, no idea that he'd been unfaithful, no idea that I was one of his betrayals. I waved back, and the guilt nearly brought me to my knees. This woman, whoever she is, didn't deserve what we did. Neither did their kids. I helped Richard cheat on his family, and for what? A job I can't even enjoy? A promotion that feels like ash in my mouth? Last night, I started documenting everything. Every inappropriate message Richard sends, every time I see him being overly friendly with Mia or any other young woman in the office, every meeting where he gives unqualified men preferential treatment, every instance of the subtle sexism and power dynamics that make places like this toxic. I'm building a case, quietly and methodically. Screenshots of messages, notes with dates and times, conversations I've had with other women who felt uncomfortable around him but were too afraid to speak up. Because I've realized something. I can't undo what I did. I can't take back those hotel rooms or reclaim the pieces of myself I traded for this corner office. The promotion is mine, whether I earned it the right way or not, and I can't change that. But I can make sure I'm the last woman who has to make that choice in this company. Tomorrow, I have a meeting scheduled with HR and 2 members of the executive board, neither of whom are Richard. I'm bringing everything, the messages, the documentation, the pattern of behavior. I'm going to tell them about Richard's inappropriate relationships with subordinates, his abuse of power, the toxic culture he's created. And yes, I'm going to tell them about us, about Chicago, about the hotel rooms, about how my promotion came right after we started sleeping together. I'm going to burn it all down, including my own career probably. Because when I look at Mia, eager and hopeful, and exactly like I used to be, I can't stay silent. I can't let Richard do to her what he did to me, what I let him do to me. I don't know what will happen. Maybe they'll fire me for sleeping with a superior. Maybe they'll bury the whole thing to avoid scandal. Maybe nothing will change at all. But at least I'll know I tried. At least I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror again. This promotion came with a price, but my silence doesn't have to.